Hello, welcome to Art Online with Chrysalis. My name is Jenny McConnell. Today you will need your art journal, a brush, watercolors and some cling wrap. Here is a slide to show you how to mix blue and green and you get this wonderful greeny sea colour. Often I like to look at other people's artwork and copy their work. I find it sometimes easier and it helps me with my techniques. So first of all, I'm going to put my colours down on a palette using the pigment from my colour palette and also water. So I'm mixing a lot of water into colours. I always rinse my brush first in the water before I dip my paintbrush into a different colour, so I don't want to mix all the colours up on the palette, on the watercolour palette. But here on this other palette is where I do my mixing. So I mixed a little bit of blue and purple together to get a bluey purple look, because you can see in this picture that there's a lot of purple. So I'm just doing my horizon first, very lightly. So I watered down my colours a lot on my palette. And I'm mixing a little bit darker blue now on top of that light blue. So watercolors is about layering. So now I've got a little bit darker again. I'm just picking up all the dark colors in the ocean here. But I want to leave some parts white as well. So you'll notice that I'm skipping some parts on my page to leave that page white. Well, when you're working with trying to do water reflections and waves, you need to leave that part of the paper white. And you build up colour around the white parts so that the waves are really obvious and jump out at you. As you can see in the picture, there's some waves crashing and lots of little parts are white. So you see that I've also mixed a little bit of black with the blue to get some of those really darker places up higher. And I use a paper towel also to dilute the colours on my page. So if I feel like I've made the colours too dark, I just use a paper towel and dab. This can also create some really interesting texture on my page with watercolour. So down the bottom here, I'm coming in with some yellow oxide and also some orange for where the sand is. I'm going to just use some paper towel to lift some of that colour back off again because it was down a little bit too dark, but this also creates texture, so I like to do this quite a bit. I like to play around with colour, and I'm adding a bit of green here because green and blue look beautiful together. The sea green, you look at the ocean, you'll see green and blues. And I lift up colour too if I'm playing around. Sometimes my paper gets too wet and I need to leave it to dry a little bit before I keep adding more water and colour. You may need to do the same. So this is your time just to play around with the colours. After your paper's dried a little bit, you may want to come back and add some more colour to make the ocean deeper, especially up the back there in some of those parts. Again, adding black to my blue is going to make my ocean look deeper and darker. If I feel like it's getting too dark, I lift it using paper towel. Don't forget to leave some of the paper white so that it looks like the waves are crashing. I want to keep building my colour up around those white strips or stripes that I've left for the waves. So I'm diluting some yellow now, and I'm sweeping yellow all up the top. I always start with the lightest colours first with watercolour, because we build on watercolour in layers, going from the lights to darks. And so if I've done it too dark, I just add more water to my page to dilute the colour. Or I might use a paper towel to lift as well. And you can see that beautiful texture there when I do some lifting, which will make that beautiful sky. Hopefully I can make the sky look similar to the artist's sky by lifting colour. So with the sky, I've made sure that this is quite wet before I put the cling wrap on. I'm using cling wrap and I'm bunching it up to create some interesting texture. So when this cling wrap, or when the painting is dry, then I can lift the cling wrap and it will produce a really interesting result. So my painting is quite different from the one that I was copying, which is fine. I was using somebody else's artwork as a reference, but I was using cling wrap as a different way of creating texture. And if you go to part 2 of my watercolor Seascape, you will notice that I will use a different technique for creating texture. I'll use sea salt. And here now, while it's dry, I'm going back again and adding even more color to really make that horizon darker, similar to the painting that I'm using as a reference. And I'm just coming in also and just making those waves even more pronounced. And here's a final look at my painting in watercolor. I hope you enjoy this tutorial and you'll be inspired to do more seascapes in watercolor. And here's a look at what we covered in this tutorial. We did layering colors. We used techniques like cling wrap for textures. And we were looking at light and dark contrast using water and diluting using water. I hope you enjoyed this art tutorial and you'll come back and see us again soon. Bye for now.